Hello, everybody. Audio looks good. Yeah. How's everybody doing? Is anyone even here? Oh, 5 viewers. Yeah, apparently someone's here. So yeah, I guess I've been doing okay, except my shoulder is fucking murdering me. Would you be willing to eat the cars? No, I think I'll pass. I mean, I like pizza, but not human beings in quotation marks being quashed down into a pizza-like shape. Um, Good question to start us off with. Ah, man, I slept wrong or something. It's been killing me for. It's been bad for a couple days, but it's worse today. Oh well. Um. Oh boy. Okay. So where are we starting with these old ass videos? Hmm. Oh boy. There's so many. There's so many. There's so many. Ah. um. Oh boy. Uh. I don't think spider is a good pizza flavor. Don't knock it till you try it. Is what they say. All right, let's look at the first one. Just the first one on the list. I already a banger, and by banger I mean fucking find past me and just fucking shove him in a locker. Uh, 5 ways to make Danganronpa a masterpiece. So I guess this was me like I don't know. I remember at the end of my Danganronpa video, I mentioned like some plot hole issues, like oh, Genocider was there in the bath scene, which doesn't make sense because Fukawa wasn't there. She didn't go when they were in the bath to see Alter Ego, and just pointing out some other weird plot holey things. So I guess the idea was to like observe ways that Danganronpa could be better. Um, and like I don't know, just looking at my list of like potential suggestions, and I don't like them. Um, because it's like they're some of them are very much me not paying attention. Like oh, what if Danganronpa had each character exploring different aspects of the same idea? And it's like oh, but I brought that up in my old video, like of the way that they all have like confidence issues and like or what was another one? Yeah, some of these are just like I was fucking not. And this was after V3 because I have a note about V3 in here too. So it's like yeah, and just like I don't know, just thinking back to doing the world video and just like critique and me just having differing thoughts but back then of just like how it's generally not as like useful. Um at least not applied to like one single work. Um yeah, that's fucking stupid. Into the trash. Um Oh, this one was a more recent idea that I decided not to do. Nope, that's the wrong button. So, a brief history of dark jump manga. So, I think this one was like a preemptive idea before the Chainsaw Man anime came out because obviously there's a pretty annoying issue with the modern whatever the concurrent like shonen series is. Like breaking the curse of the female shonen character or whatever. And with the Chainsaw Man one, I guess my idea was like looking into darker jump manga because yeah, Chainsaw Man is good. I like it a lot. It's pretty unique. It's a pretty cool title. Like I did go into a bunch of its influences also in preparation for I guess a similar-ish related Chainsaw Man idea where like I read Devilman. Abara was a manga that the author mentioned. I read a movie that I watched. I read a movie. I watched a movie that mentioned called The Chaser, a Korean film. I rewatched Uchoten Kazoku, or I rewatched the first season and I watched the second season for the first time because he mentioned Makima was derived from Benten. Um, so I definitely had like ideas to do so because it's like I was just expecting Chainsaw Man to come out and people would be like, "Oh, it's the most unique thing ever," and but it's like it's kind of hard to say it's like changing shonen forever when like you look at Devilman and it's like Devilman already existed. But this was going to be specifically I look at like other jump manga. So I have like Barefoot Gen I read, Black Angels. It's Black Angels and Godsider were interesting to me because they are older jump manga that like nobody fucking knows about or talks about, and they're completely translated into English. I remember at the time on Mal, they each had like less than 500. They were on the lists of less than 500 people on Mal. Like, so they're pretty niche and not talk about titles. So going, having the chance to talk about them might have been neat. And I have so to go through the full list: Barefoot Gen, Black Angels, Fist of the North Star, Bastard, Godsider, Yu Yu Hakusho, Outer Zone, Hallelujah Second Boy. I don't know how you pronounce that actually. It's spelled Hallelujah, then the Roman numeral 2, and then Boy. Death Note, Majin Tante Nogami Nero, Promise Neverland, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Chainsaw Man. So it would basically, I guess, talk about the manga's history with darker titles. Of course, I ended up the closest thing I have to a Chainsaw Man video now is my Shonen Isn't For Me video, where I'm kind of examining the idea of like the way some people respond to like childish media or child targeted media. Because that's the thing about Chainsaw Man is like like again, I literally pointed out the interview quote about how Chainsaw Man is what's the word the adult aspects to it are alluring to children because they don't necessarily understand them, and like the work feels more adult. But also reading it as adult, like you can kind of see like how, especially like Denji's character, like there's aspects of it that are very juvenile, right? Because of that like perceived adultness, if that makes sense. And again, none of this is just I like Chainsaw Man, like it's good, and I don't think anything I said about Chainsaw Man is like disparaging to it. I was just like kind of again, like I said, preempting what I was expecting people to talk about. Then I ended up not seeing that much Chainsaw Man discourse when the anime came out, mostly just like people saying it was good, and because I like the anime. But yeah, that was about it. Didn't really feel the need to do that. I still am interested in a lot of those titles, um, because like especially like reading just more obscure jump titles sounds really cool, especially when they're fucking fully translated. Like I have no reason not to go and read Black Angel at some point, Angels or because it's like it's fucking a old jump manga, 20 volumes, fully translated that nobody's fucking read. So yeah, interesting. Might still do that one actually. Um, Not really interested in getting into it for a while, but yeah, I might be like, and because I don't have the narrative of Chainsaw Man being involved, but might give me an excuse to pick Kagurabachi back up, I guess, because I was not feeling that one. I dropped it like 11 chapters in, and people actually like it, and not just as a meme anymore. So I'm like, maybe. All right, this one's actually another interesting one, but I would have had to reach out to people for this one. So it's a case for Hody Jones. But this one it was less about talking just about the character because I think as far as like the narrative justification for Hody Jones, I love Hody Jones. He's great. He's a horrible piece of shit, but I really like him as an antagonist and for a lot of reasons I talked about in my video, of course, my Fishman Island video. But this one was more like observing how because there was like a blog post on Tumblr from someone who was watching through the anime, and when they got to one of the episodes about Hody Jones's backstory, where he says nothing happened, they observed that they had some interesting like they'd seen that in their real life of people who hadn't had anything specifically bad happen to them, but because grew up in an environment of hate, they had a very negative like stance on certain powers that be because like it's a very real thing. And I also knew someone from my old server who really personally connected to this arc because he grew up in the Middle East, and so he was in a space where they were the racial majority. Like it's obviously mostly Middle Eastern people in the Middle East. I forget what city he grew up in. Right where obviously on Fishman Island they're all fishmen and merfolk, but they still are suffering under a much larger power that is distant, but their laws are still and their systems are still affecting that distant area, which, he brought up the US's military occupation. And especially one of the ways he connected to it was how that I thought was interesting with how, like, the Hody Jones was using like religious extremism and framing the humans as abhorrently bad, basically, and just using that as a way to deflect from his own failings and evils, which he connected to having like extremist groups recruiting, where it's like the extremist groups are obviously horrible, but they're using look America's even worse, right? Like we have this worst foe to take care of, so I'm not even saying it like that, just saying pointing out how bad America is, and there's a lot of reasons to think America is bad, but it's like I don't know. I just remember having the idea to interview them and use their personal experiences because to talk about. So there's I had this sort of like moment back when Arlong was casted for the live action Netflix, and there's some things about the way the fact that like one of the changes they made in the live action Netflix, because then obviously in the manga there are some fishmen on the surface, but by and large they stay at Fishman Island, and Otohime wants them to go to the surface, wants them to have more experiences alongside humans, and wants humans to have more experience alongside fish folk. Um, the anime, or not the anime, the Netflix live action adaptation specifically mentioned like, oh, fishmen exist in like, but in like servile positions. Like we see the waiter on the Baratige, who's like a goldfish guy, and he working as more of in a servant role to a human establishment. And so what I feel like they might be doing is they might be leaning more into the very specific American black and white racism, where one of the things I thought was interesting about like hearing the like especially this take from the person from my server about his experiences in the Middle East, about how like because there are like yeah people were making those kind of connections even back when the arc was started. People were like, oh, Otohime is like Martin Luther King, and Hody Jones is like, or no, Fisher Tiger is like Malcolm X or whatever, and people make, and there is a real life like Black Doctor who was rallying regarding challenging certain laws regarding like blood transfusions. Like, so it's not like he didn't necessarily like he was Oda didn't what just was completely ignorant to it. But I think by being a fantasy allegory, you can associate with multiple things. So my concern is that the Netflix live action is going to narrow things down, because like they were like, oh, we're casting a black person as Arlong. I'm like, please don't cast every fishman as a black person, because I like that like non-specificity to it, because you can apply it to different racial situations. So I don't know, like One Piece having this large international appeal and also having this racial allegory that doesn't have a specific allegory to it, like it's versus the Netflix live action being more palatable to specifically like American TV audiences in certain ways, and maybe also doing like it's not like, oh, they're gonna do this, they're definitely gonna do this. um but it's definitely a thought I had. I almost think I didn't include it in my video. I did. Oh, Jinbei's image. I forgot about that. Yes, because I forget the Straw Hats have their own nationalities. Um, oh God. Okay, I'll get back to that, Muro. But yeah, so I did almost include that in my video on the Netflix live action, but it felt like too much of a tangent and too speculative, because it is a concern I have about the direction they're going with it. But I kind of want to reserve myself until I, if they ever get to Fishman Island, like season 6, season 7, like unlikely. To better explain myself on the furries analogy, because like it was really, yeah, it was probably maybe not in the best taste, and I probably could have stood to like not say it at all or word it better. But it's like when I think of fetishes, I think of it like we don't choose the environment that gives us our fetishes, I guess. Like it just, and we obviously you can control your actions. Like I believe humans have control over their behaviors, right? Like having a fetish and acting on a fetish are two completely different things. So when I brought up furries, I was just commenting on like how they are, especially growing up, with 4chan and stuff, they were targeted and harassed and stuff. But it's like, for something they can't necessarily, having a fetish they can't control. What they do control is that they put it out there, right? Like they can pass as not having that fetish. So it's different, but I definitely should have thought that through better, because that did. So the person who wrote that blog post on that the hoodie blog post on Tumblr that I linked actually emailed me, and I remember when they emailed me, they said I agreed with most of what you guys said, and I'm like, most was the furry thing one of the things you didn't agree with. Maybe you should have thought about that. Funnily enough, that video is like it's like one of the most. Is it the most viewed video on Math's Wizardry? I think so. It's definitely the most viewed Nensho episode that isn't on Math Wiz's main channel because Math Wiz's no. So okay, so the most viewed video on Math's Wizardry is her Bloom into You AMV. But like yeah, the most viewed Nensho episode that again, like I said, not on Matthew's main channel, which was the first two Naruto episodes, was the Fishman Island episode. That one just blew up a lot, and which is sad. But also weirdly, the fucking first Whole Cake Island episode like is like, and the second one has a lot of views too. But the first, the first one has more. Just I don't know. It's just interesting looking back at those numbers because obviously nowadays they get like hundreds of views. Which is fine. I don't mind, but it's interesting just this difference. That's a good point, Muro, because I noted about the Yakuza. I mentioned it in my Usopp short too, even that I should have worded the script better because I didn't think about Jinbei. But yeah, no. And yeah, having two Japanese because it's like the way his outfit he wears like fucking I think wait is it literally a Jinbei coat like outfit probably and yeah the Yakuza reference is like yeah I'd assume Japanese too but India sure all right but yeah so I like the idea of that video if I readdress it it's definitely gonna be when the Netflix gets to Fishman Island because that way I can talk about how the different because like one of the angles I really wanted to come out with, like the Netflix one, is not just like saying, "Oh, it's like One Piece but worse," because that's kind of how I feel. But I more was interested in what the difference is accomplished on its own merits and or in contrast with the actual manga. Um, so like if I do that video, like it won't be disrespectful towards the live action unless it fucks it up, unless it does something really that I think is really fucking stupid because like even if I don't like the change nearly as much as the original but yeah so this one is another one that kind of I guess I kind of did this video in short form in my Shonen Isn't For Me video. It's a case for Mabel because again Gravity Falls ended actually I don't remember when it ended but it was pretty around when I was thinking about getting into YouTube and in my anecdotal experience, I saw a lot of people being mad at Mabel and not liking her character arc and what it was in service of. And I kind of summarized what the video, what like my takeaway was of just the sort of inverse, like Dipper's being, he's a kid and but he's rejecting childishness and childish things, and so he turns down the opportunity for his career basically because he wants to spend more time being a kid. And people are mad about that too because they're like, "Oh, you're ruining your future. Just do it." Right? And then Mabel is like, she's retreating the childish things, and everyone's like, "No, you stupid idiot! You're just a dumb kid. Stop being a dumb kid." And it's like, there's an interesting conflict at work there, and to the point that I got it back when the show was ending. And I just remember that negativity sort of on both sides coming from a very adult mindset of like, oh, it's 4chan, people wishing they'd done things in their life differently to end up in a different position, and also shitting on a stupid child for being a dumb child, right? Like, of course. The irony being that, like, yeah, oh god, no, I even made a joke about that in the video about like you're on a fucking internet website arguing about cartoons for children, yet you're also rejecting like just the thought of entertaining childish things. Like, I don't know, just very odd. Do I have anything else in the notes there? Or is it just like because yeah, it'd be an excuse to rewatch Gravity Falls because I have not seen that since it ended, and the annoying part is that yeah, no, it's basically just that. Um, yeah, probably not a video I'd actually do now. Yeah, water. So this one is I call the video title is A Defense of Maximalism. Wow, I have a lot of notes here. Mostly about One Piece. I also bring up Hunter x Hunter, I guess, though, because basically this is kind, I guess, because like some people, obviously the take is like less is more, and I see people throw that around a lot. But it's really baffling to me when they throw that around about long form fiction, because like a lot of the things I like about One Piece and long form fiction are the fact that they can do so much, and the fact that you have these smaller, more interesting moments and stuff like Panda Man. If we say less is more, then okay, we guess we remove Panda Man. There goes this funny meme character, right? And maybe some people wouldn't bemoan that, but they're like, I don't know. I just feel like applying the minimalist philosophy to everything is kind of reductive, right? With like, because like, and I think, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like, and I guess I would also be exploring those two art movements and where like what came about them. Because like I've seen, so I went to a city in California. There's like an art like a place where they have like some sculptures and stuff exhibited. And I remember there was one particular Maximus piece that I remember where it's basically it was a car, and it was like they used like some kind of glue to affix a bunch of like little knickknacks, and there was beads, and it was basically a representation of American consumer maximalism, because there was like McDonald's toys, just some stuff from other cultures. Like there were some Mario and Luigi ones, and I just remember thinking about how it's like, because if we say less is more, well, in this case, more is more, because how do you best get across American consumerism with what by just in a small way? No, this was a big way to do it. It was literally a full sized car with all these things glued onto it, and I was like, yeah, this is how you do it, right? And it was pretty just also impressive on a technical level, just thinking how much time it would take and just the logistics of like moving it around. um so I was like, yeah, that's cool, that's good. And so going back, of course, with long stories, it's like, yeah, I like One Piece and Bleach and Naruto and so many of these other long stories, because they are long, because they can do so much. And so I guess like when someone said, because like, and that's the other, like I was talking about this on the Bleach podcast, where they're in the middle of the Arrancar stuff. There's Almeida fighting the mammoth guy, and on its own, as a fight, like it wasn't super interesting. Like it was one of the weakest ones in just that stretch, probably one of the weakest ones in all of the Arrancar arc. And but like I was just like still just I think it's interesting, just the fact that Kubo spent the time to give such a notable like multi-chapter fight. Like it was like literally like two, I think at least two chapters, to such a fucking minor character, fucking Almeida. Like Soifon already isn't like the most important captain. Not that she's not notable, and Almeida's like deferent to her. And in fairness, like his relationship with Soifon and the ways they contrast each other is like it does add to Soifon as well. But it's just, I don't know. It was like, that's the kind of thing you could only do in a story like this, right? And I like that. I like that about these stories, because you do get people like fixating or finding interest in these minor characters. Like I do play by post role play, and or I've done. I'm not really super active in a lot of them right now, but like, because I've seen people like talk about like, oh yeah, I'm really interested in this one fucking, because my MHA, very popular show, lots of minor background characters, right? Like if it was fucking Kubo, if Kubo wrote a story like MHA, every single one of those guys would have gotten like some major shit. But instead, Horikoshi didn't do that, and I don't think that's bad necessarily, because I don't, I'm not a big MHA guy, so in my case, like I probably, but some people really fixated on those characters. I've seen it, and just being like, yeah, I like this guy just for their aesthetic or just the idea of the character in a role play or fan fiction space, just using that as a canvas to explore something more, right? Like that's something you can't get in something minimal, right? And I think that's, even if you don't, again, like Omaida's fight is like whatever, it's fine. It's not a bad fight, but it's compared to the rest of Bleach, right? Like if you go into it with a minimalist mindset of just like cut, 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 like you lose something that people probably can't. And I bet if I Google Omaida cosplay, I'm gonna find something, because he's a character of a certain body type that isn't common, right? Like there's an appeal to cosplaying that character, just because it's not easy, like because he's a big bulky body type that a lot of anime characters aren't, right? Like I just had that thought right now. It's like, oh yeah, right. So there, I bet he has like at least three favorites. On now. Hold on, let's check. um Sorry, I just that's a really dumb thought, but I have to check it. Um, it would be funny if he only had like two and I was just off by one. There he is. Marachio. He has two favorites. I was wrong. That's still not bad. That's not bad. So two people like this guy enough to put him on their favorite characters of Mal. Like they I don't think they're real people, but they are people nonetheless. I know that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, um but yeah, Max, big stories are cool, and I just think it's weird when everybody says less is more, or when not everybody. Obviously, not everybody says that, but when anyone says that, I'm definitely like, sometimes more is more. I don't know. If you like minimalism, why are you reading manga? Go to a fucking art museum. Um, so yeah, this one is also. I have so many. See, for all the One Piece videos I do, you have to realize there's so many other ideas on the cutting room floor. Because I'm realizing it's like, wait, I talked about like four videos, and I feel like half of them have like. Hold on, actually, let me check. Cause one, two, yeah, two, like we've talked about three videos and two of them are One Piece related. And here's a fourth one, motherfucker. So yeah, but basically this one was a defense of Rebecca because of, people don't like this character. Thinking about some of the Bleach content I might too, people I think her character arc is kind of similar to Orihime, where it's like you have these two characters who aren't suited to fighting, and people are pushing, like, people want their value in an action story to be about fighting, but that's not like what their characters are about, right? But I feel like as far as Rebecca goes, I've already kind of talked about her enough. um you enjoyed that clip, Hombre. But yeah, I talked about her in the Dressrosa video. And I guess I don't feel the need to do a really dedicated, because Dressrosa isn't like recent anymore. And as I understand it, because like the comparison, because people, when I think about how like people hate Wano now, I've seen several people bring up that now the opinions turn on because people didn't like Dressrosa back when it ended, but now people like it again, right? Now people so. I'm sure there's still Rebecca haters, but I just don't really feel the need to go out of my way to do a video when I already talked about her positively in my Dressrosa video. But and I, so yeah. Okay. One that's not about One Piece. So this one was very much like a time and place thing with a friend of mine. So I don't. It would have been a half gag video, but there was a Western film called El Topo, um, which I watched with my friend, and this was. I'm pretty sure this was 2016 because I was getting into YouTube at the time, and I just noticed with the because basically, I forget the exact reasons, but basically, a gunman goes around fighting like some four notable gunmen and one by one just killing them. And I remember thinking, like, I started joking about because he was beating them through like underhanded means, and like they were giving him like advice to be a better gunman and a better person, but he wasn't taking that and using decideful ways to do that. And I was just making jokes about how it was like comparing it to Shonen and it's Battle Shonen in a sense because it was like, oh, he's not working hard. And sure enough, it ended badly for the character. Then there was one scene where two ladies were in like a oasis in the Mexican desert, or well, I guess if it was a spaghetti western, it would have been filmed in Italy. I don't know enough about the production of the movie, but like, and I was like, oh, hot spring episode, and my friend just got a kick out of it because he's not super into anime, but he knows enough. Um, and it was I just had, so it would be a dumb idea to basically watch the movie and turn it into it. Basically, just applying the thought process and tropes I get from Shonen to this. If he had it on his radar, I mean, he watches a lot of movies and Western television, so I feel like if he had, and I don't remember enough to just say, oh, it's a good, well received movie. I liked it, um, but I expect that he had it recommended or it caught his interest because he heard someone saying good things about it. Um, but obviously a very dumb video. I wouldn't do it now, but like I just the premise is so stupid. But yeah, I don't know, yeah, whatever. Silly idea. Um Oh my god. What's this video? A take on tone? And I look in, and yep, there's paragraphs about One Piece. Hell, this man needs to be stopped. So this is, I guess, hold on, let me read it. Yeah, I guess, okay, yeah, bring up Berserk as well. Um, because I guess I'm dealing, like, I'm talking about, because One Piece has, it's got dark elements and it's got silly elements. So does Berserk. Obviously, the ratios are different, but like I just have a few whole paragraphs written out of just me sort of like just stream of conscious, just writing out some thoughts, I guess. Um, and some moments that I thought were weird. I talk about it, I guess, in episode of Lupin the Third. Oh, part four. I did watch some of part four. But trying to make the argument that it never detracted from the impactful stuff for me. So I'm now that I think about it though, this video like it's like I don't think I'd do it, but it would absolutely have a value because of the way, especially people talk about Gear 5 where they talk about how it ruins the tension, which again, it's just weird to me that people say like, did you just forget how the East Blue went? Like where, oh, there's no tension, Luffy just kicked Buggy in the balls or whatever, or like there's so many goofy moments in those fights, right? It's like where did you fall in love with One Piece? Like, did it really take you to Alabasta? You know, like why? I'm sorry that you had to watch through like 100, or read through 100 plus episodes or chapters to get to something you enjoyed, right? Because and then like Gear 5 just encapsulates One Piece so perfectly that whenever people say they don't like it, I'm just like, well, sorry that one. I mean, One Piece is my favorite thing, but I'm sorry that it's not yours. I guess when you put so much time into it, because it's like it's just so weird that you can just, oh, One Piece is the best, except this very core fundamental part of it. This part sucks though, and I fucking hate it. Like, are we reading the same manga? So in that way, I guess this video would have some value, but I don't know, because that's very much a subjective framing of just like, I don't think it takes away from it for me, but it does for some people. That does bother some people. And I guess like I'm not even sure what I have to look into to do that video, because I remember like just the fact that tone shifts happen so often and in so many different anime and manga, like how much of it is a cultural thing, right? Or even just like how I like, oh, I don't know, I think it was a light novel thing that had some weird like pervy scenes in it, something, and I remember Frogkun was ages years ago tweeting about how just like in an interview apparently certain people in the Japanese audience just like they don't even consider certain scenes like diegetic. They don't like, they're not really the same, treated the same as the rest of the narrative. And I remember thinking that was an interesting way to think of stories. So it's like, I don't know, I remember mostly what I thought about wasn't that, it was more my thoughts on Your Lie in April, because of just like the thought of, because Your Lie in April had that disconnect with me, because it's like you have the physical abuse victim being physically abused by his friends, and it kind of didn't vibe for me. Um, you know the end, like, but if an audience kind of quote unquote gets it, and they don't even see these things as like scenes as like happening really necessary, like it's more the idea of the scene or the feeling of the scene, then like I can see why someone would be more able to look past that element. But I don't even know what I'd look into for that, like where I'd follow up on that and just getting something in writing about that difference, because humor. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Like, are there a lot of academic papers on this kind of thing? Probably. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I don't know. What's this one? Okay, this one is definitely a video that I didn't have a distinct idea or point to, I guess, necessarily, but I was interested in, I guess, achievements, like video game achievements, as sort of like, systemic rewards, and just sort of unpacking the ways they can influence like how games are played, I guess. Because I remember like I think it was an online fighting game that had an achievement of like, if you have to lose 10 matches in a row. So if you went online and ran into another person who was specifically trying to get that achievement, you'd both be fucked. because you'd be waiting for the other person to defeat you. So you have an achievement that's sort of like systemizing losing. It's antithetical to what you should be doing as a fighting game player. You want to be winning, right? So ideally it should emerge organically through you sucking ass, or you fighting players above your skill level, which isn't necessarily sucking ass. It's but I don't know how you would like manage that, or how does it work with the system of the game, the matchmaking system, um, you know, so, and I guess I would just go further with like just because sometimes achievements are commentary in themselves. Like I remember, Stanley Parable is a good example where the game has a very specific humor where the way it sort of explores games and pokes fun at them. And the achievement's one of these. It's like play the game for the entirety of a Tuesday or something like that, which is obviously an absurd achievement where you have to have the game open for 24 hours. Or another one is like play the game, let it sit for 10 years, and then play it again. Right, or this one just unlocks randomly. Fuck you, because there's just a whole ass culture around achievement hunting. If I ever run into a game where I'm interested in getting all the achievements, which is usually reserved for games I like I've platinumed all the Danganronpa games, except for Elden Ring. I've gotten all the achievements. I got 100% achievements for every FromSoft game, except for one ending in Elden Ring. So that includes Demon Souls, which means getting pure Bladestone, which you can only get by farming enemies. Luckily, it only took me like 4 hours, but I've heard horror stories of it taking people longer. um, and even then, I've realized since then that just getting 100% it doesn't necessarily mean you've really played the game, because there's whole ass dark bosses in Dark Souls 2 I have not beaten, because the achievements in Dark Souls 2 are more about getting the endings, getting all the equipment, or all the like getting all the spells, like collecting, and you don't need to beat the first scholar of the first sin, the fucking namesake of the enhanced version of the game. I didn't even know he was a boss until well after I'd gotten 100%. I was just checking the wikia and I was like, you can fight this guy who just pops out of bonfires to jump scare you and talks to you about the plot. I didn't know he was a boss. So I guess I'd just be unpacking the idea of how they sort of affect, again, like I said, affect the games that you play, and what I don't know if, again, I'd have a main point to that, but I don't know. It's definitely a topic I'm interested in, but anyway, I'm actually going through these. I've done like 4 or 5, and we're only 40 minutes in. Not bad, not bad. Half of them are One Piece videos, and I see like 1, 2, at least 2 coming up. This one's completely different though. It's a Naruto video. I mean, I think I only have 3 Naruto videos, so not too bad, not too bad. Still quite a few. Oh, this one is about Orochimaru, and I kind of already talked about him in my Sasuke video. Yeah, so the stagnance thing, the what the pinwheel means symbolically. Yeah, this is a video that I don't need to do, because I already kind of did it. Yeah. What's this one? Hmm. Okay, I think I see. Yeah, so this video, I guess, it's like, it's about what was I trying to say? And I guess talking about like sort of how the reaction works and comparing different like Eastern and Western examples, I guess. So I guess one thing I definitely want to go into this for this that I don't have. Do I have it written here? Is Manzai comedy? Yeah, I have straight man written here, but I don't know how. Yeah, I don't have the word Manzai written specifically though. So that would have been really fucking awkward to make this video and not bring up Manzai comedy at all. But I just have some different examples of people finding things funny, or only finding it funny in like a social sense, like realizing it's funny when someone else thinks it's funny. Or because that's an example of like, you only find it funny because of someone else's reaction. And obviously I've heard of comedy clubs planting people in the audience to laugh at jokes. to build up everyone else's mood, because it's such a social thing. And then sort of comparing how, I guess another reason would be comparing like Western shows with laugh tracks to, because Western shows with laugh tracks highlight the joke. Anime shows highlight the joke with that sort of straight man responding to the joke thing, and just sort of unpacking certain things regarding that. Because like I imagine it probably would be negative toward the idea of canned laughter, just because people think it's bad and dumb or whatever. And even though I have no invested like feelings on it, like I've liked some shows that happen to have canned laughter, like Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Um, though I haven't really seen that show in a long time, but my memory of the show is pretty positive. So obviously, like, yeah, and because I'm especially remember people talking about stuff like Big Bang Theory. Like I've seen edits where they remove the laugh track, and it's so fucking awkward to just like a character will say something, and then they'll just like look at each other in silence, and then another character will say something, awkward pause, and it's like. So yeah, I don't know. Interesting video concept, I guess. Hmm, I might keep that one. Uh, just because I think yeah, I guess I think it's still an interesting topic, and I'm kind of curious. I guess what I'm really curious about is that like how I'd address it now more so than how I would have addressed it back then, because back then it would probably not been a very good video. Because hold on, what's the idea? Or what's the um 2017? Yeah. Um, oh, speaking of long form storytelling and maximalism, um, so I have so this video, at least it's not focused on One Piece. Like we're free of the One Piece for a minute. Um, but it is about Aikatsu, because Aikatsu, like, one of the things that I mean, Aikatsu, it's such a long show that it can kind of do whatever, and it's really cool. Like there'll be whole ass episodes that are just like, one of the earlier ones is like, oh, all these main characters are just gonna watch a televised drama of them acting, and some of their other friends acting out this whole story of Alice in Wonderland with some minor changes. And so you're so like watching the episode, it's literally just like an adaptation of Alice in Wonderland, but with Aikatsu characters cast as and then they do that with like other genres, and or other, like, there's like a stage play episode, or one episode's like a mecha thing, and or like they just do shit like that, right? Like they could just do whatever they want. And but I remember especially one of the things that affected me about when I watched the show for the first time was they did a passing of the torch thing where the first 100 episodes focused on Ichigo. Around episode 70 or so, we're introduced to Akari, who she is like, she looks up to Ichigo as an idol, and the series starts with Ichigo getting into idols because she goes to a concert and sees Mizuki, and it's like, holy shit, I want to do this. And so like her arc, before her arc is capped off, we see her also influencing a younger idol to get into it. Then around episode 100, the torch gets passed, and Akari becomes the main character for the last 70 episodes of the show. And it fucked me up because at the end of the show, Akari wins like a competition that Ichigo was never able to win. And they're like, oh yeah, usually the headmistress of the school gives the Starlight Queen the crown, but we're gonna change it up this year. And fucking Ichigo comes out and gives her the crown, and I just remember it fucked me up. And I was just thinking about how it's like, part of the reason this is impactful is because it's such a long story, right? Which is also a lot of the same reason I like stuff like One Piece, or cause like the example I was bringing up with One Piece is like, if you introduce a character and they show up later in like a movie, it's like, oh yeah, cool. If you introduce a character and they show up later, and there's 10 years in between, which is my example being Silver's Rayleigh from One Piece, then it's like, I lost my shit. I ran and went to go pick up my volume 3 where he first shows up, and I was like, and I showed my brother, like it was news, right? Like that's just, there's something just more emotionally investing to me about these long form stories, about how they can call back like that, and it's like neuron activation. They referenced that thing from 5 million years ago. It's so cool. So basically, I guess, yeah, it's approaching the same topic from a different perspective of Aikatsu instead of One Piece, apparently. But I did mention some other things, and like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. yeah, I guess I was interested in that. Yeah, and I guess because another issue I think people have, like I've seen it on Twitter and stuff, because like obviously the mecha is in a very different state that we still get mecha shows. Braveheart is people are really liking that, for instance. But I just remember it was Captain Earth. That show I remember it was fine, but I remember the sentiment being that sort of like because there were so many characters. Like thinking back, there were so many characters. Like there was like fucking 8 antagonist characters and stuff like that. And it's a 25 episode show. Like I remember laughing because like there was one antagonist that got introduced. They had like one episode, and they do fuck all until the climax. And when the climactic battle happens, you have all the antagonists in their mechs, and then that one character just gets blown the fuck up immediately. And I just remember like busting out laughing when it happened because this character at one focus episode, where obviously if it was like a 50 episode show or a 100 episode show, all these characters would have gotten more time to do stuff, right? So just one of the things that sort of hinders mecha series is that they can't even be 50 episodes anymore, let alone like 100, right? Because I think I also just recently heard that Turn A Gundam was supposed to be longer than 50 episodes. Which is, I mean, it's already apparently I haven't watched it, but apparently it's still a really good, like, if not the best, like Gundam series. It's like it's very well liked, but it was originally supposed to be longer, or at least there was ideas for it to be longer. But yeah, so yeah, I mentioned that I had 200 fucking documents, but I didn't know how many of them were sort of just addressing similar ideas. Speaking of long form fiction, again, but this one was more because I talked about it a while ago, and I really like the Marvel movies generally, less so now. I mean, it's not that I like them less. It's just that like Phase 5 has only had two things I like so far, really, and everything else is just like fine, I guess. But this one is like, I guess I'm responding to the quote of all Marvel movies are the same because like they definitely have structure, commonalities, absolutely, like, or even just like the fact that they end up in a big climate, because like people have had the opposite take too. That's I think is really dumb. Like Captain America: Winter Soldier isn't a superhero movie; it's a political thriller. Ant-Man isn't a superhero movie; it's a heist movie. It's like they're still fucking superhero movies. They still end in big climactic special effects brawls, right? Even if you can argue they have those elements. But I guess I would have like gone down, basically, argued in their defense. I think because I mean I don't know, because I do agree that like there's a formula there, and there's definitely a bunch that a fair handful that I don't think are super interesting. And again, the other thing is like just sorry, I don't understand that comment, ombre. I don't remember what you're responding to. But like I don't know, because I do maybe one day I will do MCU content because I do generally speaking like it. But it's also like it's just like whenever I see someone shitting on it or whatever, part of me is like a little annoyed because usually in some way I might disagree, even though I do recognize like the their pipeline is very limiting and it's hard for it's like I can't point at the good movies and say this movie was good, why can't the other ones be bad, because like there are a lot of limits and stuff, like fucking the Civil War, which is one of the a really good Marvel movie. They had to fucking fight to not have the big dumb like because the original, like the fucking producers wanted, oh, but Captain America and Iron Man have to team up at the end and fight the super soldiers that Baron Zemo was trying to revive, and that would have fucking sucked, right? Like the fact that we got the ending we did, they like the Russos were like, if we can't do it, we're just gonna leave, and Kevin was like, okay, hold on. Like they had to fight for that, right? And unfortunately, like those were the fucking Russos. Like after Whedon left, like they're the ones in charge of the MCU. So so if a smaller director or staff member was really dedicated to this creative choice, they don't have that power to just walk away because they can just reshuffle, like they're easy to replace basically. So it's like it's unfortunate that or what was it, the one of the actresses or maybe the lead actress from Madam Web was also talking about how like these people in charge think audiences are fucking stupid and that they're just going to churn out like kids like I never saw Morbius or Madam Web. Apparently, they're not very good. I wasn't a big on Venom. I didn't dislike it, but I just did not have any desire to. The only reason I was going to watch Venom and Venom 2 is because they might have been connected to the MCU. Um, and I was just like, I watched the first one. And I'm like, do I have to watch the second one? And then I found out about like, oh yeah, well, because like yeah, I saw the end credits scene and it's like okay, and then I watched No Way Home and it's like oh okay, it was just a gag basically, and an explanation of how the symbiote ends up in the MCU, which might matter, I guess. Maybe it'll be I don't know. So it's like, but yeah, it's like it's hard for me to feel the urge to come to fucking Disney Marvel's defense. Like these are some of the most fucking like Disney's a shitty company. These movies perform super fucking well. Like I need to fucking defend this company against fucking dumb takes. Like really, it's not that. It's more just like I'm defending art pieces of art that I happen to like. But even then, it's like I recognize a lot of the faults that people have with those movies. Um, that song at the end credits of Venom didn't change your opinion. I don't. It's been a while. I don't even. I barely remember. Um, like I remember some things, but yeah, it just didn't. The first Venom didn't leave an impression on me, and then Venom 2 I might have enjoyed a bit, and then but obviously Morbius is like no, I'm not gonna jump on it for the meme. And then apparently Madam Web is somehow even worse, and I'm like, nope, mm mm, mm. Like though it is, I don't know. I really need to branch out when it comes to superhero things. I recognize that, and because it's like right now my current superhero stuff is limited to MCU things that are relevant to the MCU. Like I literally watched all of the '90s X-Men show like a couple years ago because X-Men '97 is literally coming out in like 2 weeks. I'm watching the Fox X-Men films right now because Deadpool and Wolverine is happening versus Wolverine. Deadpool and Wolverine is happening this year, and I have watched the Deadpool movies, but I hadn't watched a lot of the other Fox movies. So I figured I might as well. And it appears to be an alternate universe version of Wolverine anyway, because Logan happened. But it's like, I mean, I watched First Class. It was a pretty fun movie. I liked it, and I hadn't actually seen it yet. And I'm also looking forward to Days of Future Past. I'm gonna watch the rest because why not? But I feel like as far as the ones because I've seen Deadpool, Logan, and Deadpool 2, those were good. Of all the ones I have left, Days of Future Past is the only one that I'm like looking forward to, and I hope is good. That the rest I'm gonna watch. Like Wolverine, the Wolverine is up next. I don't expect to like it very much, but that's the main reason to check them out is because it's getting connected to the MCU. And obviously I also rewatched Daredevil season 1 this year, and I'm gonna hopefully continue Defenders and catch up with those before the Daredevil sequel comes out. But I need to read more comics. I need to check out other things that aren't the MCU. Especially now that like the DCEU is over, I'm not super excited to do it, but I have had entertained the thought of going to check those out. I never watched the Batman film that came out a couple of years ago, that people really liked, and some say is like the best like live action Batman movie, if not the best Batman movie. So it's like, yeah, there's just so many other things I'm interested in, but I just haven't mustered up the energy to go check them out yet. So, if I read a comic this year, it'll definitely be All-Star Superman, because All-Star Superman and Moral Orel have been on my backlog for probably like over like for like 12 years now. For some reason, those are the ones I always think about where it's like, oh, get to this later, and then I just never got to it. Well, I finally watched Moral Orel this year, but I still haven't read All-Star Superman. So, and also because I do my media threads, and I've had the thought of just like, because I have different categories when I do my awards or my favorites at the end of the year. I was like, here's my favorite anime. So 2 years ago I did favorite comic, but it was only one comic that I read that year. Like there was no competition. It was just the Sam and Max comic that I did like, but it was my favorite because I happened to read it. And last year I didn't even have a favorite comic because I didn't read any comics last year. So I kind of want to like maybe go out of my way to have more, be able to fill out those categories and say like, because like I played Muffle of Alternative Total Eclipse last year because I realized like, oh, my favorite video game this year is apparently, even though I've played so many, my favorite one is just fucking Mario All Stars plus Super Mario World. Like my second favorite one was just a fucking like 7 out of 10. which was still good. I still liked it, but it's like, this is my second favorite game this year out of all the ones I've played. So I literally played Muv-Luv because I was like, I need to have another video game here that I really like, and I expect to like Muv-Luv, at least an 8 out of 10. Turned out to be a 10 out of 10, but you know. So I don't know, I like to, I don't know, just something I've been thinking about. Obviously, it's not really something I need to worry about until December. And there's some categories like anime I don't need to worry about at all. I'm gonna watch enough anime to feel like, yeah, anime. Um, but anyway, so yeah, I'll find out some way to do Marvel content eventually, but as it is, I'm fine with the ship just slowly going down, and I'll keep watching because they're already moving away from Kang, which I don't know, maybe they're making the MCU too much like comics, and that their storylines are just getting fucked because of various circumstances. Um, Someone's probably already made that joke. So yeah, okay, this is just another. Okay, it's based on One Piece for some reason, but it's basically like a female character, showing female character thing that I've talked about on stream before, because it's something I'm definitely gonna approach at some point, somehow. But I don't know why I specifically wanted to frame up around the Amazons in One Piece. I mean, one thing I will say about One Piece is because people look at like, you know, some of his similar character designs with like Vivi and Rebecca, and such. And I think there's, you know, fair observations to be made there, but also like, I don't know, I just remember one of Oda's comments about Shirahoshi because, you know, people say, oh, she looks just like Nami and Vivi, but Oda's like, the first One Piece female character with downward sloping eyebrows. And like, that's such a small thing, but to him it was notable, right? And also, but in the broader picture, like those are a bit disproportionate because they're all like major characters relative to like there's you know, Alabasta, or I mean, Vivi's pretty important beyond Alabasta too, but not in ways that really know that. And obviously, Shirahoshi and Rebecca were more like arc specific. Because if you look at the breadth of his designs, I just always felt like you look at if you look at Amazon Lily and Whole Cake Island and like line up all the female characters from those arcs and just the designs of like all of Big Mom's daughters and all the Amazons, like he can have a lot of variety, but for very specific like beautiful major characters, you know, he tends to like there's a hole he falls into there, you know, with but also people are way too dumb about like arguing same face. Like I remember Ginny in the Kuma flashback, people were like, Nami with freckles. I'm like, have you motherfuckers seen Nami lately? Probably not, because we've been in flashback for a little while, but like they don't look similar at all. Like what is wrong with you? Maybe their body types a little bit because, you know, and that's another thing because people have talked about that, and I've talked about it before about how it's like it's not just One Piece's issue; it's a very broad media issue. But you know, it is what it is. Another fucking One Piece video. What can I say? I want to talk about One Piece a lot. Um, what is this? Oh my god, this is a whole script. Wait, is this a whole fucking script? This is the whole 3,000 word video script that I just dumped. What? What am I talking about? Or is this was I gonna write this as an essay on somewhere else? Oh no, the way I have the images, this might have been like a Tumblr essay or something that I was gonna do. Weird. Oh no, this is like February 2016. So this was before this was around when I got into, oh my god. I didn't know this was in here. Wow. Sorry, I'm just losing my mind a bit because, no, yeah, because I started my channel in July of 2016, with my Euroline April video. That was a little bit, because early that year, because I remember it being early that year because I went to go visit my friend who lives in, a different, yeah, exactly, a whole discarded video. Like, not an idea. Just literally a whole, I actually do have one of those in here. I might actually like seek that one out and talk about it because it's there's a story there. But this, so basically, so the timeline is in, it was December or January. I remember it being winter because no, it was 2016 because in 2015 I left my job at a retail grocery store, because I was interested in going to school, and mostly I just didn't want to fucking work, and I had enough savings. Like I'd already bought a car, like just with cash, because I was living with my parents. So I had enough money saved up that I could reasonably just like live and exist for a while. And I didn't go back to work until 2018, but which so if in case you want to know how much money I had, I guess. So I went to go visit my friend who lived like 2 hours drive away. I stayed there for like a few days. Um, I've done that before a couple times. I even spent a lot of like 2022 living there because the plan was for us to move in together. But that didn't work out. So anyway, I was trying to get because I since 2012, like 2012 is when I got into anime, and my friends were into The Wire, and I had a realization of like fuck other media. So like I did watch The Wire, and I just was so and since then I've been really interested in getting into all these different mediums. And I remember at the time I was like trying to get into music because my friend really liked music, and people who made like YouTube videos were coming up, and I got that's around when I started watching a bit of Anthony Fantano. Um, but I remember anime coming up, and I was like, people talking about anime? I don't know. And my friend checked out, and he found this channel called Digibro. And I think if he, this might have been a little later, because I think because I like when I had already gone home and was no longer visiting, but I just remember watching one of the Digi videos and liking it. I think it was one of the, define. I think it may be the one about defining anime, and I remember feeling like, oh, this kind of puts a lot of thoughts that I kind of was already having into words and adds a few more things there. And then I went down a giant rabbit hole with Digi and the PCP and stuff. So that would have been later though. So if I wrote this essay idea, it would have been like because I would have in January I would have started going to community college. So I was already writing essays for English class. And thinking I could do essays then, and I was also getting into AniTube. So I originally wrote this as a Tumblr post because I'd already done. That's right. Oh, when did I write that? I'm gonna look that up actually because I wrote for because in my Danganronpa video I linked to a yeah, there it is. Yeah, I wrote a whole essay on um how luck works in Danganronpa because I thought it was interesting, and I linked it in my Danganronpa essay because or not my Danganronpa video because it was there it is analysis local. I just want to see when it was from. So I had the idea of writing. Yeah, people liked it. 2015. So that was even before. So at this time when I'm getting in, like this was 3 years after I got into anime. I already written at least one essay before I went to school, because it was just an aspect of Danganronpa that I thought was interesting. And because I referenced that back in my first Danganronpa video. So okay, so yeah, I just tried. I guess I had the idea of adapting this essay into a video, and I never did it. I kind of did because the full it's called observation power scaling in One Piece. I forget. I don't think I mentioned the actual, and I kind of did that something related to that in my rising stakes in the action adventure shonen, which was one of my earliest videos where I talk about One Piece and I shit on Fairy Tail, and yeah, I'm like just giving, but it's I just yeah, this is longer than some of my more recent videos. And I talk about like fucking some older ones. I mean, exclusively using the Japanese titles. Like I don't say JoJo's Bizarre Adventure like a normal functioning human being. I say JoJo no Kimi no Boken. So Hokuto no Ken. Just Fist of the North Star. Just say Fist of the North Star. Just say Fist of the North Star. Um, and yeah, I'm looking, and it's probably nothing. No, I highly doubt. Like, yeah, I bring up the Doriki and power levels in Water Seven. Why the fuck am I talking about comedy series? I just okay. No, I have to explain. Why did I feel the need to explain what shonen is as a demographic? At least I recognize that it's like, oh, that's why I bring up like fucking Ika Musume or you know, just because it's like they're shonen manga, but they're not battle shonen. So it's like, oh my god, it's just showing it. I just feel like I'm aging just looking at this because it's like I can just see my 2016 mindset of just yeah, because I talk about the Mr. Five and Miss Valentine scene, which I do really like because it's like there's all this buildup, and it's like, oh man, the Grand Line, you're gonna get fucked over in the Grand Line, and then Luffy and Zoro just like they fight their first foes in the Grand Line, who were being like. They fight Mr. 8, like Mr. 8 and Mr. 9 pairs, and Zoro's single-handedly just taking these mooks out. And then Mr. 5, the 5 comes, they're fucking terrifying to the guy Zoro's just blowing out. And then Luffy and Zoro still blow them out. Like, it's so fucking funny. Like, it's just such good build-up. And basically talk about that general observation that I like how, like, it takes so long for Luffy to really get challenged. Like, it really only happens in, Alabasta is the first time he really has to push himself. I bring up Dragon. Oh, that's right. Yes, that was a comparison I made. I bring up how in chapter 387, when Luffy uses Gear Second for the first time, I actually have a like, okay, in chapter 307, 388 of, in Dragon Ball, that was when Cell was in his perfect form fighting Trunks. Sasuke was fighting Itachi. Fairy Tail was post time skip, and Toriko and Hunter x Hunter. At the time, Toriko wasn't even that long. I don't know if it ever hit that chapter, but Hunter x Hunter only did recently. So just sort of observe, because like, or another observation that my friend thought was interesting was because and it's still true. It still rings true. Is that because I feel like when it's so like so apparently Araki literally moved to the concept of stands, as I remember hearing it. I don't know where I heard this from. It could be false, but basically he was trying to move away from the that guy. Oh, he was the weakest of our group or something. Like he did because he literally did that in Battle Tendency. When Santana got defeated, then the other Pillar Man came out there like, oh, Santana, he was the weakest of us, right? And I guess so he wanted to avoid that, and so he did stands where you have these less like it's less about who's stronger in these fights and more about the figuring out the puzzle and the tactics and stuff. Where was I going with that? Why did I bring up JoJo? One Piece. Hold on. Why did I bring that? Oh no, my friend. So I thought it was interesting because I brought with Mihawk, because I told him that Mihawk was introduced around chapter 70, and at the time it'd been like 10 years, like 500 plus chapters, and he was still the best swordsman in the world. That is still true. Like obviously it's not as clear cut because there's debates about with Shanks and Shiryu. Like the question I have less so about like who's the strongest or whatever is more about like the structure of it, because so is Zoro going to be like, because if Blackbeard's the main antagonist, which the way he's being built up, he seems to be really like and obviously the government can be involved too, but it's like it's just weird for me to imagine like Zoro fighting Shiryu after Zoro versus Mihawk. Because but I don't know, just the observation that like Mihawk spent so long as he's been the greatest swordsman since basically almost the beginning of the manga, and I just remember that being like that was pretty neat to me. It's like fucking 10 years ago, not 10 years ago, 8 years ago, and it's kind of neat to me now, but not as big of a deal, I guess, because I'm not really interested in it. Yeah, it is what it is, but I don't know, wild to me that I had a whole ass fucking script that would have been a Tumblr essay, I guess. But I just never posted. I need to look it up because apparently during the film Red, I remember AP Sandman was talking about how the staff asked Oda what the deal was, like how his crewmates fought, because they're in the climax of film Red, you have the Straw Hats fighting alongside the Shanks's crew. And like fucking one of the guys on Shanks's crew has fucking mouth lasers, and it's like, what? That's an interesting power. And if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I read those comments, but the implications seem to be that Shanks has something else going on that's not just swordsmanship. So that's where I would get, because like again, the example I always think of is Big Mom, because she uses a sword. As an emperor, I would expect that in a one-on-one fight, like she'd probably defeat Mihawk, most likely, but not through her swordsmanship. For her sword is just an iron bar, basically, right? Like rewatching the anime, I was a little disappointed because I really like how the old Viz manga translates that line. When because Mihawk deflects the bullets without appearing to move at all, and he says without subtlety, a sword is just an iron bar. And I always think about that, especially how it applies to like Zoro's Hachi, right? Because Hachi has no technique in his swordsmanship, right? Or Big Mom, because Big Mom, she swings around a big sword, but again, she's not using it with any real technique or subtlety, as Mihawk would put it. So, because like I've never heard anyone suggest that Big Mom should be the strongest swordsman in the world, because like she is really powerful, but she's not a sword user in the same way as Mihawk at all. So yeah, the question with Shanks is like, well, where it's I don't want to get into the debate. I'm not super invested in it because Hot Boy has Hot Boy Spicy's put it. It's like Shanks isn't really invested in being the best swordsman. Like he doesn't give a shit, right? So whether he's stronger or weaker isn't even really relevant to him. Um, yeah, but yeah, I'm just trying to point out that it's not really it's not as binary as just Mihawk's the, and even I remember even having to differentiate it because it's like characters like Whitebeard who are strictly stronger than Mihawk, like he doesn't use a sword, he uses a Pacento, right? Kaido uses a club, so they aren't in the conversation. I mean, I guess what I have wondered since is that like with swordsmanship, why is swordsmanship considered special? Like, why is it notable that the best swordsman, like he's the best swordsman in the world? Like, why does that matter more? Like, in some ways, like it almost seems more notable to probably because Zoro wants to be the strongest swordsman, and no character wants to be the strongest person. Like Luffy only wants to do so incidentally, right? Um, so I don't know. It is what it is. Oh boy. Okay, so actually no, I'm gonna go look where was that one video. Because this was yes, there it is. So this was back when I was actually doing YouTube very early on when I was doing seasonal stuff. Um, so I remember. So this was "Faith in the Face of Faithlessness: Deism and Belief in Yojo Senki," which is Saga of Tanya the Evil. Which was so this was back when I was doing seasonal analysis still, and I remember watching the show, liking it, and I wanted to talk about this aspect of faith, I guess, in the show. Um, and I was arguing how they're exploring it from different angles, I guess, and I don't even remember the show well enough. Like I have to read the script to get what I was saying, but I do remember. I looked at was like, what are other people saying about the show? And I looked it up, and I saw in the comments of another video. The video wasn't even related to my topic, but someone just talked about like sort of being X and sort of like as they don't demand faith, they demand subservience. And I remember feeling that kind of just like completely dismantled my video idea. And I was literally I already had the script drafted. Like that's why I think of it as like a finished video. Like this was actually intended to be a video. And what happened is I read that comment, sat back, thought about it, realized that my whole video idea was dismantled. I'm pretty sure I just like got up and went over to my bed and just lied down, not to go to bed, just to like exist for a second because like I watched the show, wrote this whole script and was about to record it and edit it and make a video, and then I just realized nope, it's all wrong. It's stupid, and the whole video is just in the trash. Yeah, so that's why I don't have a Tanya video. I want to go back and rewatch the show because there's the movie, and I think there's a sequel season. If it didn't come out already, I think I saw it on it, or I think it's upcoming. If it didn't come out, because I liked it, but it's been a while, been a while. So yeah, I think that's the farthest I've come with a video that I didn't just make. Um, so yeah, I always think about it because it's like, not always think about it, but when I think about it, it's just like, oh boy, just because luckily I don't think I've had a video where I actually hit the editing process and I was like, well, I can't do this video anymore. So yeah, okay, let's see. Okay, yeah, so this one is about character analysis. Ugh. Sorry, I saw me mentioning someone I don't like anymore. Um, but basically, I guess so. There's a Danganronpa YouTuber called Weeby News. I don't know if they're still active. I think it was a she. It's been a while, and I just remember not really being satisfied with her videos. Like, because at the time I really did not like Junko, and I watched her video on Junko, and it did not change my mind on Junko. It was like I have her along, and she does like fan fiction, like explaining the holes in the character by just making things up to fit what seems to be like. And I just remember not being a fan of that approach. And like I watched the Komaida video coming off of it, like Komaida being like literally my favorite Danganronpa character, one of my favorite characters ever, and I just had some negative feelings on how she talked about the character. And uh, there was some other there's some other notes here because there was also some just the storyteller he did some Danganronpa videos. I found out about him because he mentioned my Danganronpa videos, and we briefly talked about collabing. It never happened. I think the idea was to discuss Danganronpa V3 after he finished V3, and then he never finished V3 because he wasn't into it because he's not into Danganronpa, and he heard some spoilers about the ending, and he wasn't amused. And yeah, we just kind of never talked. And I just remember that because I have some comments that I wrote on one of my comments on he did a Danganronpa 2 video, and I left a pretty long comment. And I just saved a bunch here. But I remember even commenting on Weeby News about how I wasn't because I think he brought up her videos, or at least they came up in some fashion because I wouldn't have randomly bashed her. But I just wasn't satisfied with those videos. Oh my god. I'm sorry, just more chats. Um, oh no, maybe it's just delayed because okay, yeah, it's still talking about the um yeah, anyway, so yeah, I just remember being pretty unsatisfied, and in general, like more of a general note, I don't even think this applies to her videos necessarily. Actually, no, I think it does. My issue with character analysis is that you can't just talk about the character in a vacuum because contrast, I think, is at least that's the way I tend to view a lot of stories, and what I get out of various stories also matters. Like in my Luffy video, I talk about Vivi for a portion and contrast like that scene with Vivi, or I talk Katakuri, less so in the Luffy video, but it's just like for me, it's a very fun like how you can't talk about Sasuke. You can't do an analysis video on Sasuke and not talk about Naruto. You just can't. And vice versa. They're so fucking important to each other that you have to you have to talk about both in some capacity. In both of my Sasuke videos, I talk about other characters too, like especially my Talk no Jutsu video, where I talk about how he contrasts all of his opponents, including Naruto. But it's like so an issue I remember someone like, oh, here's a good Luffy analysis, and I watch it, and they only talk about Luffy, and it's like it was fine, but it's very much not what I'm looking for. But so basically, I guess this would be like the full video title is an open letter to Weeby News, how not to analyze characters. So it'd have been like trashing her, I guess. Even that, even if like I were to comment on like her one issue I have there because like character analysis and explaining why video bad. I think because I just remember when I rewatched my Super Untouchable video, I just especially remember like I was talking about a point and I paused it to talk about me talking about the point, and I just remember Shaves in the comments no, let him cook, because he felt that a lot of my old a lot of the things I said about Super Untouchable, even if they don't apply to Super Untouchable, he'll watch a bunch of AniTube videos because he does the AniTube digest, and he'll be like not good because he's like, oh, it's plot summary, like whoa is mentioning, right, where and these videos still happen and they still exist, or maybe you said decent for one of the ones more recently, but it's just like I don't know, it's just fun. I'm just thinking about it because just like because there is a place to critique, of course, and critique analysis, um, right? I don't know if I have the dog in me anymore to do that, especially with Weeby News, because if I remember correctly, and it's a woman, I just have I don't know I with because back there we did the Neurality stream where we watched a ReZero video and talked about it, and that video ended up getting dogpiled on. Even if because I came at it in like a good faith, like I'm disappointed with the way this video turned out because I think there's stuff going on here, but especially when it comes like minority creators, there's something in the back of my head saying that it's like obviously I want creators in general to be better, but to challenge if someone's like I challenge bad attitude videos and they only comment on bad videos made by women, then it's like you're a sexist. Right, like because obviously so it's not that right, and not saying that's what I would do, but it's just like I'm just going forward, I'm just going to be more tentative when it comes to like especially if in a case of like the Neuralius one with the dog pile happening, it's like I don't like that. But it's just something I'd be more conscious of, I guess. But anyway, because yeah, with movie news, it's like I don't even know if she's active anymore or what, and I don't really have any investment in that concept except or even just like I don't watch enough video like because the Super High Wolf video was driven because I was doing Curious Cat and someone was like you should watch the Super High Wolf video and I watched it and it made me angry. It made me really his why you should watch One Piece video made me really angry because it had so many dumb points. And he's even gone. He told me at Anime Expo. He said he went back and watched it. And he's like, "What the fuck am I saying?" Like he, to a degree, like is in concurrence. He agrees that he said some dumbass shit in that video, and so like that it made me so mad that I watched all of his videos and made a nearly like 45 plus minute like a 40 plus minute video with a bunch of clips of his explaining my problems with his videos. So it's like but I just don't like watching every if I'm going to watch every fucking video from a YouTuber, it's going to be someone I like I've watched except for Shabes, except for his Ideon video and his Ojimajo Doremi, I've watched all of his like analysis essay content. I haven't watched all the AMVs because I'm just not super into AMVs. Like I like them when I see like it's he does good ones, so I like and I go yeah that's cool. I just don't have much investment in it to like go out of my way to watch them. And with I haven't watched Ojimajo Doremi or Ideon videos because I want to finish those shows first. Jacob Geller is another YouTuber I'm watching. He does video games, but like he's got a huge catalog of videos that I'm working through. And I got a short list of other YouTubers I want to check out. But anyway, I have to use the bathroom, so I'm gonna take a break, and yeah, I think I have enough to say about that. So yeah, I will be right back. Hopefully, yeah, because we've been going through these luckily because I still have like I think I've done around 10 or a dozen. Still have yeah, no, we're down to 222 documents, and yeah, so okie doke. But yeah, I guess there's a lot of problems with YouTube. To finish my thought, is there's a lot of problems with like YouTube and video analysis and stuff. But it's not centralized anymore, right? Like making a video like that isn't going to like you have to be a H bomber guy to make a video that like that and have any tangible effect. And even then, James Somerton has literally come back and changed the name of his channel, deleted his shitty apology video. So it's like whatever. But anyway, I'm gonna use the bathroom. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you in a few minutes. back. Uh, should have drank that water before I came back. Anyway, what is this one? Okay, I guess this is one of my. So this is another video about YouTube. It looks like, or at least that's what my notes are about. But at least topic wise, it's analysis versus critique, how, when, and why. I guess sort of like trying to distinguish the two and talk about the difference between being analytical and the difference between critical. I guess like because I guess going back to more of just like how I feel about critique, but I guess I would be looking into because obviously people can be really negative or but I don't know, even then, because I feel like critique is often used as like a negative term, but I feel like it doesn't. I'm pretty sure it's neutral. I'm pretty sure it's neutral. It's just not used that way at all. Um, I feel like this video idea probably would have dipped into like subjectivity versus objectivity as well, which is like and I'm very much looking at different YouTubers that I was watching or knew about. Some I had problems with, some I don't. So yeah, definitely not a video that I would bother to do now. So the next one, oh no, 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 is definitely, for the most part, looking. Oh, can you think of negative critiques you like nowadays? I mean, I'd still imagine I'd like a lot of Lindsay Ellis's catalog, generally. Um, I guess actually, as far as one that I mean, I might even do, maybe not negative, um, but because I had the idea, because basically I'm trying to put more work into my YouTube stuff, and part of part of so what I've been thinking of is like when it comes to like, well, what video do I do next? Using the idea of getting into something that I've been meaning to get into as an excuse to like potentially make videos, like like for one example is I'm playing the Shin Megami Tensei games, and it's like, it's more retroactive, but like I had the idea to just do a video on my favorite characters from the Shin Megami Tensei games, so that gives me an excuse to keep playing them as channel content, basically. So I was thinking about some other things that I want to get into, because it's really hard for me to go into something with the thought of like, I'm gonna make a video about this, because usually it's for the reverse, where I finish something and I'm like, I can make a video on this. But that makes it, especially for video games, that makes it harder, because it's like if I play a video game and decide I want to make a video on it, where am I going to get the footage? So I have to steal footage, or I have to make the footage, replay it, and so that's like prohibitive. Or even sometimes when watching or reading something is I'll get an idea and then I'll go, I need to read or rewatch this, right? So like with Bleach, last time I read it in full, I did do 2 videos on it, but I got more video ideas that I felt like I needed to reread the whole series for, with the that I'm 2 of them I'm building up to, one of them I stole from Mathis. Right. So but basically, so for, I guess, again, not directly negative one, but like because I thought about Star Fox, because when I played it, especially Star Fox Adventures, I was like, man, there's a lot of colonialism or ideas of regarding that in this game, and I realized, and I've since realized that it might even go deeper than that. Not necessarily in positive, in interesting. Like, I think it's interesting to discuss, but mostly it happened because I was like, someone must have talked about this, right? It's Star Fox. It's a fucking Nintendo. It's a core Smash Bros. Franchise, even if it's also been dead for like 8 years, right? Someone must have talked about this. And I looked on YouTube, and it's pretty much all like retrospectives. Like there doesn't seem to be any like analysis or story, and it's like, it's story analysis for fucking Star Fox. I do not care about the story of Star Fox. Like I mentioned that, where it's like, this is just something I think is neat, and also I probably wouldn't mention it, but it's also half like an excuse to because it's like I already played most of Star Fox games, but like I kind of wanted to replay some anyway, because I never beat the first 2, Star Fox 1 and 2, without I beat them on the Switch, and I kind of got lazy and ended up using the the flash, the rewind and save state features. So I feel like I never really beat those. Zero, I emulated, so I kind of wanted to, and I really liked it a lot. It's like my second favorite Star Fox game, so I kind of want to try it on the. I have a Wii U now, so I want to try it on the original hardware because I never actually like because that's it was a contentious title, and I walked away from it liking it. But so basically, I want to answer the question of it's like, do I recommend people emulate this so they can play with a PS4 controller and two monitors like I did, or do I recommend that people uh or is the Wii U fine version fine for me? And people, I just people are maybe being a bit too harsh on it. I don't know. But basically, yeah, that's so. As far as like I don't know, you just made me think of like, or I guess it is an example of not directly because I have some research I'd want to do into it because like, especially again talk about Japanese colonialism. It's different, and I guess I don't know. I can think of a few topics I want to cover and some areas to research, but so you just remind me of like where I do have a possibly more negative. It's like negative, but it's also like I don't give a shit. Like it's Star Fox, I'm still gonna enjoy these games. And also, though I got to be careful because I literally did a video on a Japanese franchise and colonialism, and it was ragging on people for being stupid about it. But my as long as I'm additive and adding to discussion and making interesting points, and especially considering the cross cultural aspects, that's that I don't want to fall into the same pit holes that I've complained about other people doing, obviously. But yeah, as far as just watching YouTube in general, it's pretty much right now. It's only like I haven't watched any in a while. It's basically just Shapes and whose stuff I watched a little while ago, and Jacob Geller, as I mentioned. So, and he doesn't really do negative videos necessarily. No, he doesn't. No, he just does. This thing is interesting, and it just goes in on it. But yeah. So I'd basically just be like, because yeah, I think the only YouTuber who I still like who did negative videos that I was into was Lindsay Ellis. So yeah, that's to answer your question, Murrah. So anyway, speaking of and going back to negative bad faith stuff. So I have 5 videos titled Analytical Comparison, which I guess I was gonna do a as a series. Wait, no, I kind of did one. Hold on, didn't I do one? I feel like I did. Videos. Cause hold on. Oh, that's right. I did a few of these already. Cause let me look. Yes, I did. Okay, mostly it was I guess the Keysnabber Kokoro Connect video. That was the analytical comparison because Math was also had comparison video series. And I did a couple other comparisons, obviously more like the Neuroline April March Sangatsu no Lion and the Chaos Head Chaos Child Delusion Trigger comparison. Um, but so anyway, so to explain these, it's like they're all I don't know if they're all like bad faith, but okay. So oh yep, this okay. So yeah, the first one is shitting on Nanami from Danganronpa and comparing her to a character with a very, very different role in oh no. I guess the idea is like okay, because in Chaos Head there's Seira, who's like the main character Takumi's waifu, and there's a part in the climax where she's sort of like the she's sort of weaponized against the main character in a sense, and I was sort of I guess going to negatively compare that to Nanami being a waifu bait kind of character. But Nanami's bad. I'm like Chaos Head. Very different games, very different aims, and very different characters. What is this? No. Oh no. Okay. Oh man, this one's aged really badly. Holy shit. Because I was like, who am I even talking about here? Yeah, exactly. Sarah's no like they're completely different, and like none of these comparisons are good. They are all okay. Maybe the last one is like whatever, but they're all just very much bad faith. Like this is what I was arguing about in the Super Perpetual video regarding like reflecting on past me. Because if I had done these videos, they would all be awful, and I would looking back, I would hate all of them, just like because it's literally just using a comparison to be bad faith. Because look, Chaos Head is critical about its waifu bait character, where Danganronpa isn't critical, and it made a bad waifu bait character. Um, this one is so as I said, really, I guess the idea was like loser protagonist characters. It's again Takumi from Chaos Head and fucking Subaru from ReZero, which is so this is aged really badly because I've since because so my original experience with Subaru or with ReZero rather is I downloaded the episode, deleted it, downloaded the first episode again, started watching it, and I think the moment Subaru like closed his eyes and opened them in a fantasy world, I just closed the episode and I deleted it again, and then I watched then Digibro Trixie just shitting all over it in her like I think they did the Plebe and the Weeb, and I just decided to take that as I'm just not gonna watch ReZero. Uh, I guess I'm glad that I did because if I watched it at the time, I probably would have just like shat on it as well. So in that way, I guess like I'm coming up with the concept of the video to shit on Subaru without having actually watched ReZero. The idea would have been to watch ReZero and shit on it and talk about how Takumi is a better main character. Which is ironic because now, again, I haven't played Chaos Head in a while. I know I will still like it when I watch it, but right now I like ReZero more than I like Chaos Head. But it's just like, oh, I think I knew about the white whale stuff because I just wrote this line is actually okay. If I wanted an isekai, I'd just watch Konosuba. Okay, sure. If I wanted a fucking loser for protagonist, I'd replay Chaos Head. Obviously, the bad faith comparison. If I wanted to watch an asshole hunt shit, I'd just play Monster Hunter in front of a mirror. Like, so there's a self dig in there that made me laugh. Uh, but that's awful. Um, so this one, people would have fucking people. I don't know. See, I'm not even saying that I just okay. So I've watched Lupin the Third, the Castle of Cagliostro at least once. And I also when I also watched it around the same time I watched the Fuma Conspiracy, and I just remember walking away because I liked the Fuma Conspiracy, and I honestly just did not care for the Castle of Cagliostro. And apparently, I know that's a very like hot, like a very like not a hot take isn't like oh wow it's so spicy. It's more like just like more like people are like no one agrees with that. I'm not saying that not regarding the two, but just no one watches Castle of Cagliostro and think it's mid. Is what I'm saying. And I guess generally, like I'm more thinking about the place I was watching Miyazaki movies, and it's like because I've seen them a few but it's been so long, and again, it's probably just not good. It's coming from like a kind of contrarian place. I think I feel like I'd enjoy them more now. I feel like I literally just call her boring princess in my notes of the chick from Cagliostro. Um, and I guess this comparison would have been trying to say that I think Puma Conspiracy is better, which I'm not going to say that's a wrong thing to think, but just the way I'm really like me dismissing and shitting on Cagliostro would have not gone over well. God, and I'm sure I'd enjoy probably both of them more. But if I watched them both now, I don't know if because I'm thinking about like Shapes going through all of Lupin and sort of like his takeaway being that there's a lot of good stuff in there, but there's a lot of mid. So I don't know if I'll be so completionist when I go through Lupin, but I'd at least rewatch everything that I've seen already, if nothing else. But yeah, and here's another bad one. Back when I also didn't like K-On! Funnily enough, I dropped it twice. So the first time I dropped it is I was not feeling the show, and I hit episode 4, the beach episode, and my download was really fucked up. Like for some reason, like that episode was just broken, and so would have had to re-download it. But since I wasn't feeling the show, I was thinking like, well, the next show, like, because this was at this period of my life, I was watching slice of life shows. Like, what I'd do is I'd come home from work, and before I'd go to bed, I'd be lying in my bed with my laptop, and I'd put on an episode of a slice of life show like Kitamari Sketch or something. I watched what were some of the shows I watched that way? Minami K. I watched Mitsunomoe. I watched no, not Mitsunomoe. It was Ichigo Mashimara. I might have watched Mitsunomoe that way actually. Tamagura is a show I really need to rewatch. But yeah, basically, so I got to K-On! And I watched like 2 or 3 episodes and I wasn't feeling it, and then the next episode broke completely and I needed to re-download it. I was like, well, okay, it's either continue K-On! As I'm not enjoying it, or I download the next show that I'm gonna watch, Aria, and do that instead. And I'm pretty sure I'd already read the Aria manga, so I knew I like it was really a no-brainer. So I watched Arya, and I did go back to K-On! And I ended up dropping it in season 2 because I got frustrated with like just it was me being really, really, really fucking stupid about the how pandering the episode. They're all in maid or uniforms. They're only here for Mio, but all the other characters are here because it's pandering to the audience, and uh, you know. So in my comparison, I wanted to basically talk about how Yoshinoya from Hidamari is good, and Sawachan Sensei from K-On! Is bad, actually. And I guess, like, even though I like K-On!, like, she is kind of like the cosplay stuff is a little weird for me sometimes. I don't dislike it, obviously, but and she's good. She is good. Don't get me wrong, but just these bad faith comparisons are killing me. Ah! Why am I like this? Oh, oh my god. Didn't realize I've been streaming for almost 2 hours, but we can go for longer. Um, okay, we're just, yeah, I don't know, more of them I cut through, the better. By the way, yeah, the stream, I think the spring sale should be soon, because we'll probably do one more of these streams at least, and then hopefully we'll start a World's End Club, but or not, or Death Come True, whichever. I'm more interested in World's End Club, frankly, but I'm curious about both of them. And Mass Detective Archive Raincoat is just it's more expensive and it's on the Switch, so I'm a little hesitant to just pick it up. But yeah. How would you describe a bad faith comparison? I just think of it bad faith. Well, because like just generally when you're looking at when you think about analysis and like bad faith, it's like you're not trying to judge it in good like okay, it's not helpful to just say you're not trying to judge in good faith, but you're for me it's like it's not looking at at it for what it is, or coming at it with a certain perspective like solidified and already in mind. Basically being a bad listener, right? Like if you're talking to someone and you're approaching them in bad faith, you're going to assume the worst of everything they say, right? Um, and not actually hear them out. So when you're going through a piece of art, like just interpreting everything in the worst possible ways, like that's generally what I think of when I think of bad faith. So bad faith comparison is like it's one sided in that you're looking at one aspect in bad faith and you're looking at the other aspect in good faith. Which it's like example here an example that is on my channel is the tirade on Fairy Tail Part 1, where I'm looking at Luffy in good faith, but I'm not looking at Natsu in good faith. I'm not recognizing the aspects of Natsu's character that are valuable on their own, and that sort of Fairy Tail's narrative better than they would if you just translated him into One Piece as the main character or whatever. And I addressed that in the tirade on the tirade, where I explain like there's like the difference between like I negatively look at double standard is probably one way to put it. But like in the old tirade video, I talk about how like Luffy going for the One Piece is better than Luffy, because the way how it shakes out with Igneel is different. Like it is very different, and I saw that as bad. But it's like Fairy Tail's about overcoming loss, and Natsu's journey is understanding that Igneel's fucking gone. Like he's looking for his dad, but his dad's already dead and has been long dead, basically. And that's what all the stuff in that arc is meant to signify, right? And it is, especially like I'm pretty sure it hit me a bit emotionally just think about how like Masha himself lost his father, and so fatherhood is a recurring thing in his works because of his own personal experiences. And that is something I would have never given credit for it back in that tirade on Fairy Tail. So yeah. That said, this one, what is this one? Okay. Oh God. Oh no. So this is a weird one. So, because I guess it's still probably bad faith, but because it's Zero the Second and Monokuma. So Monokuma, obviously Junko from Danganronpa. Zero the Second would have been the main antagonist of Zero Time Dilemma, which was the final game in the Zero Escape trilogy. Also, generally the least regarded one, because there's some goofy parts to it. There's definitely some weirdness to it. I liked it at the time, but it was like I gave the first two games like 9 out of 10s, and I gave Zero Time Dilemma like a 7. And a lot of people were even more negative on it than me. So I guess I would have compared like basically the main antagonist of that game with Junko. And so yeah, no, never mind. I thought it was different because it's like, well, because see, the mistake I made was because in my brain, because the video is titled Zero the Second in Monokuma, so I actually for some reason thought Zero the Second was the rabbit in Zero or in Virtue's Last Reward, but that was actually I'm pretty sure that was actually Zero the Third. Um, I'm only partially sure on that because it's been a long time since I played those games. And I was like, I'm comparing the mascots for some reason. And it's like, nope, it was about Junko. It's about shitting on Junko. Never mind. Um, so, but I mean, because I guess I would have been defending the aspects that I like about Zero Time Dilemma, but I'm so far removed from that now that it's like, whatever. Oh no. I hate so many of these ideas. I fucking hate them. I hate them. They're so bad. Funny, the next one isn't that bad, but I was just looking ahead and seeing just the titles and just being like, no, why are you like this? Why are you like this? Um, so this one isn't that bad. I don't think it's bad at all. It just it came out well because I had the idea, and then I realized that the idea was wrong. That's basically what it is. So it was an Ashina. It was this was back. I think I was rereading Ashina Joe around when Megalobox was coming out, and I was just thinking about the way that Joe has this positive effect on his community, right? Because he comes and acclimates with this very poor part of Japan, um, where basically every and but he brings heart back to the people, like they there's ways in which like I'm gonna get a suit so I can watch the go to the stadium and watch Joe's fight, right? Or but and then but really where the possible idea for the video came from was just thinking about how after the major death in the middle of Ashina Joe, and Joe's like working on getting through that, and just the way everyone in the community comes out to like try and help him with that. And I remember thinking about that positively and just like, oh yeah, like he's helping his community and the community's helping him in return. And then I remembered that he doesn't really accept the help from his community. He just like fucking screams and runs away. And like the idea that they would come out to help him to me was like really touching. But then I remembered, nope, Joe just doesn't. He doesn't accept it, and that kind of threw a wrench in the video idea. So I remember that was just an idea that I just like, yeah, I could do that idea, but it's like no, because I guess another example I was gonna bring up was Nishi, with how Nishi being this like because boxing is ultimately not Nishi's path, but he still finds this fulfillment doing other things, right? And that's all because he met Joe, basically, and because he got into boxing. Um, boxing is that road to improvement. And even if Joe ends up, Joe improves the community through boxing indirectly, basically, right? Like he builds some spirit. So basically, the idea would have been to talk about that a bit. And I guess I still could have, but I was literally emotionally affected over something that happens, but isn't like followed up on. In the way that I guess I would have, because he does, yeah, he kind of rejects his community in that moment because they can't really help him. So I just remember realizing that and being a little like, I don't know if I'll do this video. And yeah, I did do a Joe video, more comparing to Megalobox, but it sure was a Joe video. Um, um, so now we're back into the negative videos again. Um, no, maybe not. Actually, hold on. Okay. So this was okay. I don't hate this video idea. I don't think I'm doing it this way, but I like because it's like so basically the video title is Best Girl Never Wins, Why Harem Appeals to No One. The title is obviously really dumb because actually Harem appeals to a lot of people because at least at a time it was a pretty popular genre of romance stories. So I guess the idea would have been to go through a bunch of harem. I have a big list of harem series that are ended or in some capacity, um, and that I would have checked out, I guess, and some that were ongoing. Um, but basically, I know like dumb point I had regarding harems is just like statistically, You give it a bunch of girls that of different archetypes and stuff, and you're gonna have your own tastes and preferences. Statistically, let's say the average harem has like 4 girls, right? So that's a 25% chance of your girl winning. And I'm mostly especially thinking about because I remember reading The World God Only Knows and catching up to that in its last arc, or near its last arc, and then the ending when the girl who won wasn't the one people expected or wanted to win, and a lot of people were mad. A lot of people, and I just remember that sticking with me as someone who wasn't invested enough to give that much of a shit. Because I mean, my thing with it is just like because when I start, I remember there was an image of like Kama on a horse and with the sporting what was her name, Asuka, I think, or something like that. She was the first girl that he conquered basically, and I remember between seeing some content with her and just getting into the manga and seeing that she was literally the first girl. I was like, oh, so she's like the main one, right? And she was important, but that turned out to be incorrect. But I wasn't super invested enough to care. So I guess it would have been talked about the audience response to Harem in that way, and I don't like the assumed take, but I have at least settled my theories on what I think is interesting about harems, at least, and if I ever get to that Nisekoi video, I'll definitely talk about it. But okay, it wasn't as bad as I was fearing, um, but it is what it is. And I do like the completeness of like trying to check out a bunch of stuff and comment on it instead of like, I don't know much about harem anime. Let's talk about it. What is this? Oh, yep. This is bad. Oh no. Oh no. Why am I like this? No, this list is, oh god. So the title of this video is Better Than Fairy Tale, where basically the idea would be to read a bunch of like not well regarded like battle shonen series, or maybe not like more controversial ones, and basically the quest to find something worse than fairy tale. I'm just looking at my list, and it's like the funniest ones on here are Black Clover, which I actually really like. Hitman Reborn, which I've read and it was pretty fine. Toriko, which I reread and it's still good. Boruto, which I've now read the first part of the manga and I think it's good, and I've watched the anime and I think it's really good. Kenichi's the only one other on here that I didn't feel that strongly about back when I finished it, but I also literally didn't know what was going on, and I remember that. And looking back, I'm like, you caught up all and read it weekly, so of course you didn't know what the fuck was going on. But yeah, this is terrible. Just to read out the full list, just to get an idea of what in my mind were like controversial, like even the fact like Hitman Reborn is, especially. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know where I got the idea that people didn't like it. I mean, obviously, part of it is probably just like the fucking scans. The scan quality is not good. Like that would impact your there's just some fucking unintelligible parts. But I also have 666 Satan on here, which is Kishimoto's brother doing a manga. Elemental Galade, which the joke in here is I have it written as Elemental Jalal. The idea that I do like a fairy tale joke. Beelzebub and Blue Exorcist. I guess I don't know. This was my idea of like more middling or bad battle shonen things. Yeah, Summer Snow. Thank you. That's kind of what I was getting at with the harem video, where it's like, because yeah, it's either everyone hates it because it's the like it's. I remember it because it came up a lot in or a bit in the Shapes' anime encyclopedia video because the makers of the encyclopedia just seem to have a disdain for harem shows, and like anime. He even made a reference because they're like, oh, we're trying to prove that anime is not just porn and Pokemon, and he's like, anime is not just porn and Pokemon. There's harems too, right? And which they also have this a similar disdain for. And yeah, like that's the thing is like when you do like a harem series, then you want your favorite character to win, right? Where obviously especially after getting into Nisekoi. Oh, Reborn is hated? Fuck, that's unfortunate. Because I didn't dislike it. Yeah, okay, that's unfortunate. Anyway, like, because I like Nisekoi a lot, and I just remember from, talking about it with my friends and stuff, where it's like, my favorite character did happen to win, but honestly, it's probable that like a part of it, because I've noticed, I remember having this conversation with one of my fans, Prince, because there's a level at which people maybe think it's even just basic to like the main character of a work, basically. Um, where my stance is like I tend to like the main characters because because the story is about them, they tend to get the most interesting stuff, right? Like my favorite One Piece character is Luffy. Luffy, like, who's the character who we're focused on during the Paramount War, right? Like, which is one of the most well-regarded arcs in the series. It's fucking Luffy. I love the Straw Hats. I love the dynamic they have with each other. But this is a good part of the story, and they are just not there, right? Like, So with the harems, it makes sense that I would gravitate towards like the one who ends up winning, not because they win, but because like Chidake is where the arc of Nisekoi is. And the other characters are phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. Like, I absolutely understand enjoying Onodera or Marika. Like, they're fucking Sugumi. They're great. It's a great cast and it's a great manga. And obviously I'm just the type of person where even if I happen to like another character better, and that's probably if I did do the video like this, because I'm kind of doing it more for my Nisekoi idea, it's more to go through specifically like more so jump harem or romances, and to compare it in the context of his magazine. But I am generally like, I don't know, every when it comes, that's the thing, because talking about earlier about how like in 2012 when I was like getting to anime, and then like, oh god, what about television? um you know um right, and just like even now there's so many like genres and stuff, because like I love, I don't, when I was talking about doing the In the Den with Hot Boy Spicy, um which is funny. That's what. Okay, In the Den podcast with Hot Boy Spicy. Sorry, I don't know why I had to specify that. I just like because we were talking about just like getting into like talk about, because normally we both talk about Battle Shonen and stuff, and even we're starting off with fucking Bleach. Right, but he talked about how it's like he at one point he watched a bunch of rom-coms because there was a thought, he's like, I know there's got to be a rom-com that's like, yeah, that's the one I really like. And he watched a bunch, and he watched a bunch of good shows, like he wasn't dismissive of them. Then he found Kaguya and he's like, there it is, there's the one I really like. And that's fair. I love like I've watched the 2 seasons, and I want to go back and watch it in full at some point, maybe when it ends, if it ever gets a full adaptation. But like I read the manga, it's really good. I liked it quite a lot, so I understand that. But I just like that mindset of like, I don't know what this is. I'm gonna go into it and dive in and find out if it's for me or not, and if there is for me, if there what is in what's where's my favorite in this, right? Because like Tokusatsu, that kind of happened because I saw like one funny clip of Lupin versus Pat Ranger, and I was like, I'll watch this. I haven't watched any Tokusatsu. I watched like fucking Power Rangers RPM. I've never watched it in Japanese. I'm into anime now. Why not? And Lupin Ranger vs. Pat Ranger is still like my favorite Tokusatsu. Um, right? And then, but it's, I just keep always thinking about like, yeah, I don't like, I like Nisekoi, but I there's always the thought of like, there's got to be more stories out there, right? That are also good, that are also interesting. Or one weird one, not weird, but it's like BL manga, right? Because boys love, because it's not to my tastes in that like I'm super interested in like homosexual romance or boy on boy. Like I personally don't swing that way, but it's also like it's such an important part of anime manga that there's a level at which I am kind of interested, because what if there is a story that I just find is really interesting to me? I don't know if it'll happen and or if I'll ever get around to it. Actually, one thing I am luckily doing this year that I'm actually glad is a shoujo manga. Not exclusively shoujo. I kind of lump shoujo and josei together, not because I think of them as like, oh, they're I mean, demographics kind of like whatever in the first place. Like Kageki Shoujo started in a shoujo magazine, and now it's in a seinen magazine, I think. It hasn't changed. It still feels like a shoujo manga to me. And that's not in a dismissive way either, because right now I'm reading Seven Siege, which is like Seven Seeds, which is like an apocalyptic sci-fi manga. I think it started in a shoujo magazine and moved to a josei magazine, I think. But I don't know. It's just hard for me to just say shoujo or just like, because they change. I feel like a lot of the series I've read changed magazines at least once. It feels like it's more common. Maybe it's just anecdotal, but it feels like it's more common compared to Battle Shonen, where especially with like a Jump series, it just stays in Jump. But I have a plan to read more shoujo and josei manga this year. I have a list of just a few titles that I think are potentially neat or interesting, or and just because it's like I want that perspective and I want to broaden my tastes even more, right? But yeah. But anyway, to go back to the topic of the last video we were talking about, it's like obviously that video is aged poorly because I don't hate fairy tale anymore. um, oh, I'm satisfied with Shonen Jump and Kamen Rider when it comes to boys' love. I mean, fair. Okay, so this video, I don't know if it. I mean, I guess it would be timed pretty well because the Ashita Joe manga is getting an official English release. I feel like it's definitely a bit, maybe a bit dated. But I basically had the idea of to talk about Ashita Joe and how like it's so weird how people like don't understand. I guess mostly I'm responding to two videos I watched back at the time when around that when Megalobox was happening because Mother's Basement and Man and Matt both made videos on Megalobox, and both of them like okay. So the Man one was baffling because he was talking about how it felt nostalgic. He mentioned '90s anime, which is like why I don't like did he not he didn't recognize the 50th anniversary boxing glove I guess I thought that was very odd and Mother's Basement definitely downplayed the importance of Ashina Joe like the one part I most remember is he said that it's like oh it hasn't been relevant since it came out except for video games which is absurd when it's like it's fucking like it's probably like one of the most referenced anime I think there's I haven't considered like cataloging them but I feel like there's probably more Joe references in anime than there are Dragon Ball references because I just see them fucking everywhere like it's insane but so basically I would have just talking about how fucking important, just doing a more general video talking about how fucking important it is and how, okay, I guess it's a similar mindset of my Toku video because my Toku video is coming from the place of like people who watch it, who really care about anime need to pay attention to tokusatsu because it's so culturally, especially like just thinking about how historically big they are. Like fucking Ultraman was insanely popular, the older series. Um, Oh yeah, yeah, Ashino Joe. Yeah, no, it's funny you mention that because like they also reference like because I've read a few not Chinese but Korean. I think pretty sure Korean. But they also reference anime and manga a lot as well. But yeah, Ashino Precure has. So I mean I guess you could argue like I don't know. I was thinking about it, it's like maybe someone might try to argue that like because of their superpowered or something like that's more it's Toei like oh that's closer to Dragon Ball. Um, but I just think about how as far as like direct references, there's more Ashino Joe references in Precure than there are Dragon Ball references that I've noticed in Precure. And there's only there's four shows I haven't finished, and I'm literally like five or six episodes away from finishing one of them. So like I've watched most of Precure, so I can pretty confidently say that like yeah, there's more Ashino Joe references. Like I don't know, the one I keep thinking of is like there's just two that are just so fucking funny. Um, there's one from Go Princess Precure where they're like doing like a sprint race and one character is in like a big mascot outfit and she like runs her heart out and just like she's just she's lying on the ground, she's not bent over but she's just got that same like smile and she's burnt to white hot ashes. And then they do another one in Healing Good Precure when Nyotora, the cat mascot character for the yellow Precure, he was trying to do something involving a bracelet or a necklace or a letter. He was trying to give something to someone and it didn't work out. And I just remember when it doesn't work out, he's just like sitting there like doing the. It's so funny. I don't know why it's like funnier. It's my favorite Ashino Joe one of my favorite or okay, it's not my favorite Ashino Joe reference, but my favorite one of that like pose that isn't like meaningful in the same way of just like as in Danganronpa and Girl the Gone. Kishido Sentai Ryu Soldier they have like a not a kangaroo but it was like a boxing, it's because it's a dinosaur themed but it was like a boxing mech basically that they have as a companion for one fight and it punches out the monster and then it does the Ashinaja burned hot white ashes. I mostly remember liking that one because it uses electrical lines as like boxing ring ropes. And I just remember thinking that was a really cute way to sort of like make it even like they made a fake boxing ring in the mecha set basically, and I thought that was really cute. um, but yeah, no, it's pretty yeah. And it just felt it was so fucking surreal, like having read Joe, and honestly, not only partially knowing how like I didn't really know about Dazaki at the time, like that's why. right? Because Dazaki was such a fucking important and influential anime director. Like, obviously the source material is really good as well. But like, like Gurren Lagann, like Shapes talked about in his you know, in his Gurren Lagann video about how much like, the fact that you had two of the creators just fucking spending the whole night talking about how Ashita Joe is fucking good, and that leading to Gurren Lagann having so many Joe references. Um, right? And so it's so baffling to see fucking Mother's Basement downplaying the importance of Ashita Joe as someone who would have like played. I'm pretty sure at the time he'd played Danganronpa and watched Gurren Lagann. He should have known the like references, but he didn't talk about it bafflingly. And then Matt is like, "What the fuck?" I don't know. That was so weird for him to just say Megalobox was being nostalgic to '90s anime. It's like, what are you talking about? I mean, availability is a problem because obviously you have to read it illegally, and the anime also has issues with its availability. But oh well. All right. I think we've been over 2 hours. I will do a few more. Mm, okay. Okay. This one is justifying slice of life, I guess. Boring in a good way is the video title. I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory. um, I guess I was also thinking about it in. I guess okay, this is the time and place because I remember I started watching Flying Witch, and I wasn't feeling it, and I ended up dropping it a few number of episodes in. And all I remember is that Trixie talked about Flying Witch at the time. And I don't remember if what she said was even good or bad, honestly. I just apparently maybe want to talk about slice of life stuff, but I didn't because good. I don't know. Maybe I guess some people still hate slice of life nowadays, but nowadays it feels like the anime fan base is so fractured, I guess, that like everyone's more easily just stick in their bubble, so to speak. So, like I feel like if you're getting to anime nowadays, like you probably don't just like, I mean, I guess maybe, I don't know, are they, they're not as pervasive, I guess. Like you don't have K-On, like, back in the early 2000s, like K-On and Hinamari Sketch, were recent or still coming out and stuff, and now they aren't. But anyway, another fucking One Piece video. um, so this one, oh, okay, this one, no, that's a different idea. Never mind. Basically, I guess talking about birth in One Piece and how, like I would have talked about Momonosuke, I guess, which I kind of already talked about Momonosuke and Orochi in the Lana video about how like they both sort of had this sort of burden by their birth. Orochi was born a Kurazumi and suffered for what his grandfather did. Momonosuke was born the son of Odin, and these shoes that he'd never be able to fill Odin's shoes by just mimicking Odin, right? He had to, Luffy. It was Luffy who nurtured him into being someone who could, be his own shogun, basically. And I guess okay, so yeah, some because Willa D, it's really important because like there's a lineage factor there as well. But as we can see, I think comparing like Rox and Roger or Luffy and Blackbeard, we can see that it's not exactly just like a single thing. Like there's conflicting wills of D basically. And then Conqueror's Hockey, the I've actually checked some of the original panels, and there is one instance of it being mentioned that you're born with Conqueror's Hockey, and it's from Garp, and Garp derives from the world government. So the argument there is that he as someone of the government, he sort of believes in birth anyway. And I guess what I was going to point out with how, because my interpretation, it's more speculative. So I'm not like, this is probably part of the reason I never did the video. Or, I mean, I could still do it, but I feel like I just need more context. But with Conqueror's Hockey, how I've always interpreted, not always, but how I've been interpreting it is that, like, it's not a 1 in a million thing because it's by birthright. I think it is like a level of like personality and like, because you can't train it because you have to have an ambition, you have to have a will to dominate others, right? Like Luffy wants to be Pirate King, Zoro wants to be the greatest swordsman in the world. They developed Conqueror's Hockey, right? That it's a temperament thing, and so that's kind of how I've been interpreting it. Because And I mostly, and I, I would have to specify the translation there because I checked because there's the Amazon Lily Time in particular because the one Amazon who mentions Conqueror's Hockey in the original Japanese she doesn't bring up birth or birthright or anything like that at all. It's only Garp who does it, and Garp, like I said, is from the world government. So yeah, there are some points I would have brought up there about that. Oh boy. Oh, actually, I'm gonna skip ahead, and this sounds like a good video to end it off on. Yeah, so going back to BL, I guess is I guess at one point it probably already exists. I have a YouTube video I linked here, which is probably discussing the same thing. Because I just remember there was a discourse going around about like boys love stuff fetishizing, gay romance, and I had a Twitter post that I remember think was interesting because it talked about how like this conversation has kind of already happened in Japan like decades ago. And so it would have involved me like reading a bunch of BL manga and then talk. Pure fantasy would be one of the aspects to talk about because in I think Patrick Galbraith has an essay on pure fantasy, and that's a concept I've really, really been wanting to talk about for a while in a video because I feel like it's really important to understanding like anime fandom and media and stuff. And basically, like the example that he gave in that paper was how like he consulted a Fujoshi, and she was talking about how she fantasizes again fantasy about her husband regarding like BL tropes, like the ume or the seke. I think I forget exactly how you pronounce them. But she also said that it's like, well, she doesn't actually want her husband to be gay because, like, well, then he wouldn't love her anymore, right? It was pure fantasy, right? It's a fantasy that's enjoyed because it's without thinking about reality. And I think when you think about anime in that context, and a lot of things like when they handle certain various like problematic elements like incest or lolicon, I think that if you approach it in terms of pure fantasy, it makes more sense. Um, and so I've been really wanting to talk about that at some point at a length in a video. I just haven't found a good video to do it in, and this one, I don't know, it's an idea. I don't know that because like if I talk about BL or not BL, if I talk about pure fantasy in another video, the question is like, well, when do I talk about or would I have a reason to do this video? Um, so yeah, I don't know. Because I like I don't know, it's a weird thing because obviously like any one of my videos has a chance of just being picked up and passed around or whatever. Um, so because like I remember feeling a bit awkward when I talked about the Buddhism moon symbolism in both my Aizen video and my Should Be 15 video. I did get a comment from someone saying that they thought that I talked about it differently enough that they got something different out of both takes. But I do worry about bringing up multiple concepts in different videos because in my head, like I'm making these videos, I'm very familiar with these videos, but the reality is that a lot, like there are video, like people will just, even big fans of mine, like probably a lot of you here, probably have not seen all of my videos. Like maybe you've just gone out of your way. I'm gonna watch this video on this thing I haven't seen and don't care about, like maybe. But I just, that's probably the reality. But in my head, I just think about how what's it called? People just like probably don't watch all my videos or like me repeating concepts between videos, especially again if it's different. Like if I'm talk about pure fantasy in the context of boys love stuff, and talk about pure fantasy in the context of like idols or maid cafes. Those are all really different. And it's valuable to bring it up multiple times potentially. But I don't know. Just it's just something I've been awkward about. Um, so yeah. Um, Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't watch videos about shows you don't know, which is fair because like especially me, like so one YouTuber I follow him on Twitter because he's cool, but as far as his videos go, I've only seen one of them. Marsh SMT, is that his name? He does Shin Megami Tensei videos, and in particular he has like a million view one about the first Shin Megami Tensei game, and I did watch it to completion, and it's fine. A lot of it is just him going over a playthrough of the game that he had, so and it's like so in a 2 hour video like what he has in that video that's specifically like helpful to me isn't very much. So generally speaking, I'm not really going to watch a lot of his videos, but because yeah, I'm just going to have the experience myself, right? Like when I watched that video I had already played Shin Megami Tensei, so and that video has a million views. If like what fucking like 0.1% of those people actually went down and played Shin Megami Tensei, that's fucking great, right? Because they might not have ever played it otherwise. But for me, like that's not the kind of content that I like because even let alone analysis videos where you're gonna get even more. Like not that video didn't spoil it, but just like the way I write my videos, I kind of don't even bother to recap stuff. Like because one, I just think it bloats the video, and two, it's like I just expect the people who watch the videos to already know what I'm talking about. So I'll just I'm with my like One Piece videos, I don't go like here's Wano, here's what happened. Now that you know, I just talk about like, oh, remember that one thing? Yeah, that's relevant here too. Like I talk about it like you already know about it because that's what I expect. Because I make videos that I want to see. Because I'm not gonna go watch like Marsh is cool, but don't really feel the need to watch his videos because if I'm the only videos that I that have value to me are the ones of the games that I can't play because they're not in English. And which is that's but if they ever get translated, I'm just going to want to play them. So I don't really need to watch his videos unless I just want to skim through them to see if there's anything, because like he talks about like version differences and stuff for Shin Megami Tensei, so that has value to me because I didn't even know about the PS1 version, so if I replay Shin Megami Tensei, it'll be the PS1 version. Not that the Super Nintendo version is bad, but it's like PS1 version just it's different. Mostly it just looks different. So I don't know. But yeah, no, I understand not wanting to watch a video on something you don't know, because especially not my videos, because they are generally a review is different, right? Like because a review is basically saying whether something is worth your time or not, right? But I don't really do those necessarily. Well, okay, my next video is closer to that, but it's more of it's weird, but it's it spoils some things, but nothing that really matters anyway. So yeah, that's just that. Yeah, I make the videos I want to see, which is why I get straight to the point. I faff about as little as possible in the beginning. I just try to get right to the topic and digging into whatever I want to talk about. And yeah, I make it for people who've already gone through the thing, because I also try not to watch videos of things that I don't know about, because like I just don't trust. I don't know. There's been way too many times where like I go into something that people have contentious or negative opinions about, like the Nen show. We went into Naruto and Bleach going like, man, I hope these don't suck. And then now, having like reread them after the Nen show, I'm like, these fucking stories are phenomenal, right? Or Sword Art Online, where a lot of people don't like Sword Art Online, and it has reasons not to like it, but it's also one of my favorite anime because I just watched it and I was like, holy shit, this is actually really interesting, and I like it a lot. And I made 4 videos on it, 4 fucking videos. That's more videos than I have for Naruto or Bleach. Right? Like, so yeah, that doesn't happen for me very often. Damn, I didn't even think about it like that. So yeah. Anyway, oh boy. So yeah, yeah, knocked out a good chunk of them. That's pretty cool. Yeah, or almost under 200. So almost under 200. So where this is gonna take on for a good while, but we got a big bunch done. So because I think we have oh my god, yeah, oh my god. Because in my folder of there's 39 in my folder of ones that I went through already. That includes ones that we've done before, but we went through I think about 30 today, so that's pretty good. All right, but yeah, that is going to be the end of the stream. So yeah, thanks everybody for popping by. Much appreciated. See you next week. I don't know when. Generally speaking, they'll probably be a little later because I have more work next week and my shifts end at 2 p.m. So they'll probably start around closer to this time. But we will see. So yeah, have a good one, everybody.